All right, we're getting closer to the time when they come down. At least how they had done in the past. So what I'm gonna do is just hang out here, maybe chat a little bit with you guys, and kind of wait out. Let's go find a place to sit out here. We get a little bit of moonlight, which is really beneficial for me. Probably gonna be harder for you guys though to see me or anything else. But I did bring the thermals, so if worst comes to worst and we hear something, we can scope it out and hopefully see it. All right, let's go find a place. All right. Well, let's get started. Just so you guys know, I'm moderately protected. Nothing too fancy, but a good hunting knife will go a long way. Just in case you were wondering. Something you get really close to you, like you can't hear with all this brush and scrub oak. The likelihood of you being able to pull out a gun in close quarters is limited, you know? So the knife might end up coming in more handy if something gets close. So here we have the FLIR on loan from Steve, which I'm definitely thankful for, because one day this will help me, get some footage. So I'm gonna turn it on and scan the area. It takes a moment because it's FLIR, and FLIR, this thing ain't that great. I said it. So we're still waiting, and there we go. The nice thing about this FLIR is that it has a manual focus. But it is difficult to use. So I'm recording now, and I'm going to look around, see if there's anything in my immediate area. See anything spying on me? But this, when the time does come, if I'm not too forward and too aggressive with it, if they're nearby and they expose themselves from the brush enough, I'll be able to catch them on this thing. But easier said than done. What is that? I don't know. It's just a heat signature in between trees. So it looked like two big voids. So I am not seeing anything right now, which is cool. I'm gonna stop recording. The other thing with these things, you can't record for long periods of time, or it'll just shut off. Like it'll just freeze and you'll lose everything because of it doesn't do well with buffering, which I think is another really unfortunate thing that every other video technology does easily. So I'm just gonna leave that out. Since we're waiting, I decided to do something a little different. Like kind of like how I read like I did a few with the comments. But I decided I might as well like kind of read the comments here of some people and maybe talk about that. It might be cool as we wait for something to happen. Plus, me just talking calmly and just hanging out. That's really what you got to do, and it takes time because like let's say they're down here right now, which I'm not sure if they are because last time they came like around March, towards when the first leaves were coming in. But you want them to know that you're around too. That doesn't mean being aggressive, but that definitely means letting your presence be known. And then putting yourself like this at a place like this where they can easily approach you. So I have my back to the area where they'd most likely be coming from, because that's the foothills are behind me. And there's a lot of scrub oak coming over here. There's patches of snow, but there's enough. Like free ground to navigate effectively without like going through snow. That doesn't mean, like I said, like they're down here. In February, I had like more interactions with them further up in the mountains and canyon. But again, I need to repeat those so that I can feel confident that that's like a reoccurring thing. So right now, it's just like a one-time thing that I think that they do yearly. I mean, it's a good assessment, but who knows? All right, so I like this comment. I don't know how good it is, like as far as how true it is, but it seemed to ring true, some of the things that this gentleman was saying with his habitation of these hominid groups, kind of like the way I have. And this is from like a couple of years ago with the documentary, the one that kind of showcased everything, the one where I was just like here every single day, and hopefully I can start doing that again. But again, like it's hard, because I have to find a way to make like money, stay in shape and be able to get out here every single night and day. And that is just something that doesn't happen very easally. But I've been working on it. I have some new projects in line that might do it. So, all right, let's get started. So this was a comment, and it's an interaction between me and this person, kind of talking about their interactions and mine, some of the stuff that they had. So yes, as a good tag name, his tag name is "Me Love You Long Time." So he writes, "I tried that years ago with a troop of them. The alpha male wasn't having it. I wasn't accepted by him, but instead bluff charged and shown aggression on several occasions. Therefore, I had to abandon the research. Otherwise, it could have ended badly for me. Remember, both Jane Goodall and Diane Fossey both almost lost their lives by being beaten badly for trying to gain acceptance into the troop. Out of 700 family groups of gorilla, only 2 groups alpha males have permitted humans to observe them in the wild. Here's the hint: don't feed gift them. 1, they perceive it as you are baiting and hunting them. 2, the alpha makes gifts for females for permission to breed them. So by leaving gifts puts you in competition with the alpha male. 3, if you habituate them with food, you now created a nuisance problem and potential dangers for humans that it may come across in the future. Don't feed the bears wildlife of any kind." So there's like some truth to that, like no matter what it is, whether it's a person, an animal, or the North American hominids, you create like a conditioning, like feeding. I'm pretty convinced, they're gonna want more, and like if you don't give them more, like after you spoil them, they're gonna demand more. And he doesn't even have to be food, like he points out food, but honestly, if you just give them attention and you're there, and you stop giving them attention, they start getting, I wouldn't say more aggressive, but more bold, like just like a pup, just like a kid, just like a person. Like if they want your attention, they just start like getting more dramatic. And there's other things that I think are really interesting. Like obviously, like I haven't seen this, like like gifts as like a consent for like breeding, but I could totally see that. So that's something that's totally intriguing to me because I could totally I could see that. And again, like that's one of those little things that we may not think about, that may be part of like their culture, part of their behaviors, that could put us in danger. You know, like we're trying to give them food, but that's just seen as a threat by by another male's competition. So that's something to be considerate of, because we don't know that information, and if he's seen that behavior, then that might suggest that that's what's going on, and it can be seen like negatively. And yeah, he's right on like these primatologists that had these some violent encounters as they got closer to these troops in Africa, and that could easily happen here. Where, like that could easily happen with human populations. It's happened before, like with uncontacted tribes or less contacted tribes, where if you don't get accepted, you could get killed, or kicked out or pushed away. And I know I've and like I respond by just letting them know thank you for the advice and warnings. And I've been bluff charged before. I don't know if it was an alpha. I just know it was big and it didn't like me there. But to be fair, I realized it's because something I did. I was being aggressive, and that was my first encounter, because I went in there thinking like it was kids throwing pebbles at me, and I may start making noise and started outflanking them, and obviously they didn't like that, and that's what I say. And it was traumatizing. Again, in retrospect, I realized like they were gently trying to open communication channels with me by making little bits of noise and throwing little bits of pebbles at me, but darn, that was the first time I realized they even existed, and kind of close to home, like we're not very far away from the city of Colorado Springs, and so it was just an area that I'm in right now that I used to come all the time, do night hikes, run around. I still come here all the time, and so the last place I expected something like that to happen was not here. And then let's see, and I did make some assumptions here. I said, ironically, these events like that, my encounters here, and then like in the documentary, I was dealing with the same alpha. I don't know if that's true. I don't know if like it's the alpha or if it's like juveniles or females. But I do know that they come through here, and I have a hypothesis that I can't prove yet that the alpha will come in the morning, and like the big dominant male, the father, whatever you want to call it. Will come like in early spring to scout out everything and deem it safe before going back up into the foothills and bringing the rest of the family down. Let's see. And then I go over like how I just I just did the same thing over and over again, looking for evidence, looking for changes, increasing like interactions, which is the only way I've been able to be successful. Like I haven't been successful for like the last couple years, because I haven't been able to just chill out here night after night after night for hours at a time until something happens. So it's one of those things where I'm just it's just a waiting game. So he writes in response to that, he says, when I was naive, my friend and I bought food, rocks a stack, etc. every week on schedule. And see, they're doing this regularly. Same vehicle, clothes, etc. predictable. One day I brought with the use of a laminated photo I made of Todd standing's up close picture of the alpha's face to nail in a tree in the gifting bedding area, along with a picture of a juvenile perched in a tree on a branch. Second picture was unrelated to Todd Stanley's work. And this is interesting because this is something I've actually thought of doing. It was taking drawings, taking like pictures of reported Sasquatch and hanging them up, like laminating them. So it was really exciting to see that he did this. And I also wanted to go a step further and like get drawings of people and like a depiction of a Sasquatch, like in friendship, like bonding, and put it up on the tree to like try to see if build rapport. I just thought I heard something walking back there, so it was just. We'll take the thermal camera out if we hear more of it. And so he goes on to say, upon halfway to the gifting area, we set up our dry camp from our backpacks, tents, etc., during which we could hear trees behind being felled, but without the aid of chainsaw. One would crash, followed by a 10-second pause, preceded by another tree falling. 5 in total. We dropped everything we were doing and ran 200 yards up the trail to the creek crossing to see what was once a stand of alder trees, about 12 to 14 inches diameter, completely pushed over at the point at which we usually cross the creek. In the hard-packed sandstone gravel was a 19 by 5 print 1 to 2 inches deep. We didn't turn back. Nope, naive. We crossed the creek, and within 200 feet we reached the bedding gifting area. We believed that moment we were hit with infrasound because the feeling of doom and gloom was very present. So that's interesting, because that's actually happened on 2 occasions that I can name right off the bat, where we went into an area and we either had eyewitness accounts or interactions, and when we came back later or the very same day, in one case in up Newland Creek south of me, a log had been rolled right into the trail, and it wasn't there like the day before, and we were the last people to leave, super late at night, and one of the first to come back the next day. And something or someone had pushed it and just left it on the trail, vertically. And then on another occasion was before I started doing those interactions, I ran into them further up the canyon in February, and I started making these woo noises, not loud, but it drew one in, and the other one made a loud noise and distracted me, and I could hear the other walking off, and I didn't try to follow it. But then I came the next time I came over there, which was just a couple days later. This live tree had been just bent down and just taken from the roots and placed across this very path I take to get over. So he continues saying, and I'm pretty sure I've been hit by infrasound, because it's very similar, and I can talk about it in another video, but it was when I was in high school. I was just went up this mountain with my friends, and I heard this crazy scream, and it was just I was just paralyzed, almost literally paralyzed with fear, but I wasn't, but there's the conscious side of me was very aware and alert and not scared. It was I was contemplating. I remember contemplating being why am I scared? It doesn't make any sense. Yeah, it was a scary scream, but not enough to paralyze me. So I wonder if that's happened. Anyway, but I told my friend that we needed to not leave but act submissive. We pinned up the pictures, left food, checked our rock stack, and then sat Indian-legged and quietly talked to each other while bearing the extreme fear that only feet away was what we guessed to be the alpha. Every few minutes you would hear a stick snap crisply from a distance which seemed about 50 feet away. But again, we would stay and endure. Finally, we stood up and slowly we casually walked out as we usually do and to our camp. That night, the troop used whistle sounds and used alcohols until we were surrounded at a distance approximately 200 feet down and within 20 feet. We knew better than to use our flashlights, so at that next moment I walked 10 feet away from our small fire and toward where I knew I could sense one was at, and softly called out, "Hey, are you still there?" To which the immediate reply was a grunt. I quickly turned my head to my friend and stated, "You heard that, right?" And with the expression of enlarged wide eyes, nodded and said, "Yes." I then softly told it, "Okay, thank you," and I slowly stepped back to my friend's side next to the small fire. Later that evening, screams and vocalizations could be clearly heard from what sounded from the gifting spot. Did they see the pictures? At times that night, I was awoke on occasion by a hand pressing through the side of my tent and upon over the top of my head. So this is some really intense stuff, and they went further to try communication. And I think I see, again, I could be wrong, but I think I see the mistake they made. So when they started getting like some of those interactions, what they did, and hopefully he sees this and follows up, is they sat down. Now, if they sat down, they happened to have their backs facing away. That may seem submissive to us, but in like many other languages, of animals, turning your back to someone, and even in some human cultures, it's a sign of disrespect. It's a sign to show you that you're not afraid of them. Like if you put their back, that shows like that you don't think that they're dangerous. And gorillas do this. Gorillas and chimpanzees will do this. In fact, if you ever go to a zoo, like check out the female gorillas. They're more than likely you're gonna see them doing that to people. Here at the Cheyenne Mountain Zoo, they do that all the time, and it's just it's a sign of disrespect. And so maybe that's like what invoked some of this aggression. So what's difficult in this is to know like what triggered them, right? They could have been like ruminating already from feeling insulted from their backs turned, or it could have been like the pictures, or had nothing to do with the pictures. But there's so many different things going on. It's hard to really have a controlled experiment in this type of situation to know like what caused what, which makes it really difficult, because it's at the end of the day, it's going to be really hard to have a controlled experiment like that. So he continues on, and this guy, honestly, like, it's, to me, in my experience, it's very convincing that this person is having something similar that I had, and interacting with these hominids. So he says, the following weekend I left my friend and instead decided to take a woman friend with me. We got 200 feet from reaching the creek when, in the brush 30 plus feet on the bank right off the trail, there was what sounded like two rocks being rapidly tapped together, followed by the brush being pounced through until it reached the edge of the trail in front of us about 15 feet, where then we saw the brush clearly being violently shaken. I lifted the grocery sack out from my side and spoke softly. You know who I am. So you know who I am. She is no threat. We then slowly walked right past the brush and kept our eyes and body posture to the ground. We made it across the creek to the gifting spot, left the food, and then sat down. Again, that feeling of terror and sticks popping and snapping happened, but she and I endured or stood our ground. Then we got up and left slowly and calmly. We never saw anything, but believe me, when I'm away, she was not only freaked out, but a believer from that point on. In hindsight, the alpha male or female definitely didn't want me or any of us there. And like that's, if they don't want you there, like like you feel it. They get like really like aggressive. They let you know. Like it's very clear, at least in my experience. So that's it sounds like they did something to offend them. And like I said, like we don't know what it is. It could have been a number of things. It could have been like they were just in the way of like a good hunting ground, like it could have been like turning their backs. It could have been the pictures. It could have been like the gifting, like the way he interpreted, like as a competition. And these are all really good possibilities that we need to keep in mind as we get closer, because a lot of people like are getting closer. Like we're getting closer to these hominids, and we're doing these interactions, and the closer we get, we need to be a little more careful, because it's literally like meeting an uncontacted tribe. And so you have to have these precautions in place and be really slow. And then he says, it wasn't until 2 years later and 150 miles away in another location in unrelated circumstances that I saw one like full on to 30 to 40 feet distance. And so I wrote, of course, like that's an amazing story. And the behavior and assessments he made, I thought were good. And then I told him, like, naturally, like I'd have to and it really helped me reconsider like some of my experiments, like really to make me think like, well, this might elicit a different response than I want. Because at first I was like, oh, they'll understand. Hopefully, like they'll see like I'm trying to befriend them, and then like it's gonna get better. But that may have sent the wrong message, and I might still carry out some of these experiments. But I have to have the opportunity, right? They have to be around, and I have to have evidence that they're around to conduct them, and that hasn't happened yet. So he says, I just continue to say like how what I just told you, just interpreting the wrong way and like reevaluating how I run some of the tests. So I just thanked him because like that's a really good information that could potentially help me out here, like landmines to avoid. And so then he writes again, when my friend and I, after a couple of months, decided to add dry camping to the weekly routine, is when we got our first introduction of aggression. Until then, things felt calm, almost friendly. Every week, sometimes it felt like nobody was around, etc. Other times it felt like they were everywhere. It was upon our second dry camping, the time I brought the picture with me, but hadn't put them up, that we got the trees being felled when we were setting up camp. The pictures in the end never got distributed. The following weekend, my friend couldn't go with me to camp, etc., but I felt responsible to not break some sort of routine. That's when I decided to invite the friend of mine to go. That day, while bringing the food and almost to the spot of where we would do wood knocks and announce our names, that the rapid rock clacking happened in the brush up the bank 30 feet off of the trail, followed by a brush breaking pouncing where it stopped short of the edge of the trail to remain concealed, but to shake the brush violently. Yeah. So obviously, like, whatever happened, and I have to look up what dry camping means, but that's something he noticed that occurred, that was going on, that he saw changes. And so he finishes with, I believe it didn't matter who I had with me that day. They were pissed. Probably was expecting a camping thing again, etc., but no camping that day, just a food drop. But like I said before, she became a believer that day. And that's the same experience I had with Madison. She was just in it because she thought it was just a weird hobby I had. It was fun to hang out in the Jeep and just spend a lot of time together up until like we started getting like the interactions. All right, since I'm elevated up here, I actually have service, so I'm gonna look up what dry camping means. Probably gonna be really obvious, but let's see. Okay, so dry camping is more like RV camping. No hookups. So, but they were intense, I think. So maybe when he refers to dry camping, it's just camping. I'm not sure, but if that is the case, maybe because they were staying there the whole time, it looked more like a like an intrusion onto their territory. Again, I'm just just throwing stuff out there, because at the end of the day, I don't know. Like, there's a lot I don't know. I have like a hypothesis, assessments, theories. No, I don't even have really theories, just hypothesis that I'm trying to test out. But I do feel more confident each year that I know where to look to find evidence that they've been around. But I haven't gotten the timing quite right yet. And maybe I won't, because like they can adapt, they can move. So it's kind of hard to pin that down. That's why actively looking for them has been really no success. It's been good to find evidence of where they've been, like that's for sure. And where to look later to see if they're around, but that hasn't been very effective. The most effective so far has just been doing what I'm doing right now, just waiting out. Which, of course, is pretty mundane and gets pretty boring. But like it's the only thing that can be done. Luckily, last time I did it for a long time, I had like at least a girlfriend to pass the time, which was very helpful. I'm very thankful. But now it's just me in the darkness. But if you guys remember my last video, or one of the first videos I did of me out here just talking at night, I was scared. Like that was like me pushing past like my fear, because that was like my consolidation of all this work to face my fears of being in an area where they could approach me and that they had the advantage, and like just trusting myself that I knew enough about them and this group that I wasn't going to get hurt. And I did it, you know, I did it, and I felt so much better after that. Like I'm not like kidding myself that there's a potential very dangerous situation that could occur between them or other hominids, you know, like, sorry, I hope there's no other hominids besides people here, but like, like bear or mountain lion. There's definitely a lot of mountain lion here. I'm not too worried about like the bear, but I know like the mountain lion saw a good opportunity. Like if I left my guard down, like I fell asleep out here, I, I would not put it past the mountain lion to just take advantage if it was really hungry. It's hard to hear because the creek's like running just nearby. But I'm gonna try to keep doing these. It's tough, you know, like it's already tough like to do everything else and come out here a lot and explore and then also like do videos. And so I'm trying to work on making them less complicated and more like simple, so I do more of them like this. So this is gonna be like mostly unedited. But yeah, let me know what you guys think. If you guys like it, I'll try to do more. Again, the video and like the editing's like, it's kind of a burden. It's a lot of work, and I don't get much out of it. But I do like want you guys to be included. You know, like it's that, like, so you guys have an idea what's going on. And so hopefully you guys can, if you guys were traumatized like me, you can kind of face those fears like I did, and so you can go back to the forest and enjoy it, not just be like looking over your back and like have your gun ready. But yeah, it's gonna start warming up, and we're gonna start seeing a lot more animals and wildlife. Anyway, I think that's it for now. I'm gonna just chill here a little bit longer, maybe walk around, but the most part is just waiting here. If anything else happens, I'll let you guys know. I'll keep scanning with like the thermal, and then probably just head back when I get hungry. I'll be staying here longer when it gets when it starts warming up, especially when the leaves come in, because that is when it's gonna happen. But I am starting a job soon. The good news is I get off at 3 in the afternoon, so I have a lot of time. But the bad news is that I have to start working at 6, so I'm gonna have to find a way to stay up late. Maybe I have to adopt like I just wake up super early, come out here, do this thing, and then go work, and then go to bed super early. Normally I like staying up late, but I guess we're gonna have to switch things up. But at least that'll give me like the financial backing to hopefully be able to do this more, or do more. Anyway, thanks guys. Like, subscribe, it's, you know, like all that stuff. Comment, let me know what you guys think. I thought that was really good, like information that gentleman gave, and I'm very thankful for it. If you guys have any other like tidbits like that you guys experienced, let me know, because that's the kind of like stuff that this is like the bread and butter that fuels me, that gives me like the information I need to get closer and to improve like my interactions and finding them and stuff like that. So anyway, have a great night, and till next time, bye.